Welcome to another edition of Bookie Beatdown. It's a new era. It's a new age. But what's old is new. What's new is old. I don't know. Cody's here. I'm here. Not Dogger Pass anymore. We've gone out on our own. If you missed last week's episode, we explained all of that. Mayo's going to have new hosts take over the Dogger Pass over on Mayo Media Network. Cody and I are betting on ourselves and going out on our own. No sort of ill will or anything like that. But, just betting on ourselves. Look for our own sponsors, not sponsored by CoolBet or anything like that. Appreciate all the sponsors that we've had along the way. But if you like our preview show every single week, nothing really changes except it's on a different channel now, right, Coates?
Yeah, well, as far as I'm concerned, like we've had really good sponsors, and it's always just been a game of a company comes on and they say, we like your show and we have good viewership and you have good fan base. Okay, let's get in business. And then right away it's, I understand it's how business works. I'm not complaining about it, but I am complaining about it here on our first show, is that you got to drop promo codes and then you're trying to get people to sign up and they want you to constantly tweet it and constantly send out their brand and constantly get people to sign up and use this more promo codes. And then they track it month to month. And this month there's less people signing up than last month because they've already signed up. And then your deal runs out and then they're like, okay, let's go and find another sponsor. And you do it all over again. And so you're constantly getting people to sign up and with books that some of them I can't even use myself because they're not even available. So like telling you to sign up for a book that I can't even use myself. Just feels like disingenuous. So we've never been trying to sell people on anything. It's just like Paul and I's character. It's our nature. We just don't try to sell you on stuff. And so then just recently we launched this Patreon kind of with the idea of I would rather not have a title sponsor for the show. I would rather have the people who have enjoyed the show for the last decade contribute a small amount monthly. And then you get all this. You get regional coverage. You get weigh-in coverage. You get recap shows. You get prop shows. You get all types of stuff over there. So it's like instead of having some big sponsor and we've got to sell you on this, drop this promo code and make sure you jump into this contest and this and that. It's just like it's sponsored by the people now. So it gives us that luxury and that flexibility of doing things differently. Of course, we're still on Fight Network. So like nothing changes on the TV side of things. It's just instead of watching it over on Mayo Media Network, just go to the Bookie Beatdown channel. So that's it. But because it's our first episode and there might be some confusion about where to watch it, best thing that Paul and I can do is absolutely annihilate this 12 fight card. So that's what I'm looking to do here. We're in Iowa looking for a banger right off the hop. And then there'll be no confusion where you want to go and watch your MMA picks.
100%. And if you want to sponsor us, I am not sponsored by Head. I bought this at Costco, and it's actually wearing off a little bit. I will wear the shit out of you.
They're good guys. I have absolutely no will. I'm
still wearing the CoolBet hats.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. I appreciate these guys in the same way that like Circus Sports, I'd wear that hat. Like you don't have to give me money to wear your stuff. You're good guys, all good. I understand business is business. But when Paul said we're betting on ourselves, the best business for us was to do this. And so this is what we're doing.
Yeah, link is in the description if you're interested in all the regional stuff every single week. Bookie Beatdown, our UFC preview show, will be here on the Bookie Beatdown YouTube channel exclusively every single week. So, if you enjoy our stuff, it's not going anywhere. But if you want more from us, we're breaking down crazy amounts of cards every single week. Probably a little bit too much. But we try to do as much as we got. We're burning the wick at both ends sometimes, but as long as we're making money, the time is well spent. Anyway, we're 4 minutes into the show. We got the main event of UFC Des Moines. Cory Sandhagen taking on Deiveson Figeuiredo. Sandhagen, a minus 500 favorite. Figgy can be had for plus 380. Here's the thing, Codes. Went back, watched some of their more recent fights and stuff. I will say, credit where credit's due. Sandhagen shows a lot of like improved takedown defense against Cousin Umar last time out. Figgy starts his last fight out against Yana by getting a takedown early, holding some position. And then as the fight wears on, he has less and less to offer. If it was a 3-round fight, I'd be interested in Figgy at this price. 5-round fight, I mean, Sandhagen's built for 5 rounds. Sandhagen's the pick. Maybe you get a better option in live markets, but I really struggled to get to Figgy. There have been some pictures actually surfacing of Figgy this week as well,
Fat
where he looks.
Figgy, yeah, I seen
Yeah,
it.
I don't know if I'm really buying into any of that.
No.
And even if he was like carrying a little bit less muscle, that would actually maybe help him down the stretch in close rounds. So Sandhagen on volume, pace, I just don't think Figgy can keep up. Reach, speed. Figgy's 37 years old at this point, and it's a young man's game. Sandhagen's 33. He's still got a good couple of years, I think, of maybe not his prime, but like close to it. Your take?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. I saw the headlines. It was like Fat Figgy. I was like, all right, I got Cory Sandhagen. This is good. Click on him. Does it look like he's shredded up? No, but he still hasn't finished his weight cut by no means. But beyond that, Fat Figgy is still like in better shape than 95% of the population on the planet. So if that's a fat man, makes the rest of everybody else just feel so bad. But anyways, bottom line, just like Paul said, not only is he 37, his best days are at 125 pounds, where he was monstrous. He's a weight bully, huge power in both hands, physically strong enough that even though his wrestling is not like technically good, very physically strong, and he'll just bull you over and get some takedowns. BJJ black belt, of course, beautiful guillotine choke. If he grabs a hold of your neck, he will crank this thing. But now at 135 pounds and being 37 years old, he relies on just getting a quick takedown, making something happen. The longer these fights goes in a 5-round fight, he's prone to gas. The more you can make him work and exhaust himself and shoot multiple takedowns, he's going to slow himself down. And if you keep this as a striking battle outside of getting meme KO'd, you'll probably just outwork him. Exactly what you saw in the Peter Yan fight is exactly what I expect to see in this Cory Sandhagen fight. Cory Sandhagen at one time, his deficiency was his takedown defense. Take this guy down. Aljamain Sterling blows right through him. This is the way to beat him. But he's spent so much time working on that specifically at a high level. He's got 5-round pace for days. He's got excellent volume. And then, like Paul said with the Cousin Umar fight, he gets taken down 5 times on 14 attempts. And he gets taken down, held down for less than a minute in each of the first 4 rounds. He gets taken down and held down for 2.5 minutes in the 5th. But that's the 5th round. The first 4 rounds, it's like even when he is getting taken down, he's getting up right away. So I feel like he's really shored up a lot of those holes in his game. And so how does he approach this Figgy fight? Well, definitely watch over the KO power. But the KO power is less at 135 than it was at 125. So just mind your P's and Q's and outwork this guy. Paul's not wrong in his assessment that Figgy's best round should be the first in theory. Maybe that's where he's going to get a takedown. Maybe that's where he's going to land a couple big shots. But the longer this thing goes, Cory Sandhagen is just going to cleanly outwork him, tire him out, and get the victory. So I got Sandhagen. I was very tempted to just take the Sandhagen by decision at minus 175 instead of the minus 500. The problem is that when Sandhagen beats you, he may land like 100, 150 significant strikes. And Figgy's doesn't have durability issues as much as he may just tire out, get put in a compromising spot, and sometime like a greasy TKO later in the fight. So I got this thing getting banked, rounds getting banked, but Cory Sandhagen winning those rounds and ultimately winning either a decision or a late stoppage.
Yeah. Are you trying to threaten me with a good time of like a Sandhagen round 5, Sandhagen round 4?
If the number was
like
right.
20, they're like 20-1.
Yeah. Well, if he's going to finish, that's when he's going to finish. And I think it's totally on the table. Just overwhelm him. Tire him out. Overwhelm this guy.
All right, let's move on to the co-main event. We got Bo Nickal taking on Reinier de Ridder. Nickal is about a minus 310 favorite. Comeback on de Ridder about plus 250. Plus 268 at Bet Online right now. Went back, kind of watched that Paul Craig fight because everyone was so upset with Bo Nickal in that fight. And it kind of just plays out like somebody who is trying to learn on the job, work on the job, figure out, kind of like me right now. How am I switching this show and hosting this show, making time codes for this show? I'm learning on the job, almost like Bo Nickal in that fight. It wasn't necessarily pretty, but you can see that like it was kind of a concerted effort the entire time in that fight. I thought he showed some like decent signs of like a striking game that's starting to come together, not just explosive, but it's like when he's not able to take people down as he moves up the ranks, he's going to have to be able to lean on that a little bit. So I think it was almost like a training session, and the fight played out that way. And I'm sure people had lots of unders and Bo Nickal by KO and everything like that because let's face it, he's fighting Paul Craig, but really didn't attempt to try to take the fight to the ground because why would he against a guy who subbed Magomed Ankalaev in the dying seconds of a fight one time, right? But I thought he showed some like half decent like head movement and stuff like that. What were you gonna say?
No, I said that's fair. He choked out Ankalaev. Why play that game?
So went back, watched the Ritter versus Mearshart fight because I was like, you know what? I want to see the Ritter in a fight that gets a little bit extended against somebody who is a southpaw. And like Gerald was landing some pretty nice strikes while they're on the feet. And like athletically, I don't think those guys are him and Nickal are relatively close, to be perfectly honest. Obviously, Reinier's got a great grappling game, but it's like I think that entirely gets negated. Everything I see from the striking between these two, I still think Nickal is better on the feet. I like Nickal to get a knockout on the feet here. Watch the Val Woodburn fight would be fun, would be nice, but is that actually going to happen on fight night? I'm not entirely sure, but preferred play. I like Nickal to get the job done, get the win here, but Nickal by KO is like plus 200-ish. Played some of that earlier this afternoon. What's your take?
Yeah, I think Nickal did us a huge favor here, man. Huge favor. Because think about this. When he's on the Contender Series, he's minus 1,600. Second time, minus 2,800. Debut against Jamie Pickett, minus 2,000. Val Woodburn fight, minus 1,600. Cody Brunridge, UFC 300, he's minus 1,600. Paul Craig fight, he's minus 1,350. This is the first time Bo Nickal's ever been a bettable fight. Ever. Yeah. Quite honestly, ever. And it comes off people saying, I don't think he looked that good against Paul Craig. Well, let's keep this in consideration. Let's take this in consideration. One, the guy's a wrestler. He's won all of his fights by wrestling, so you know he can wrestle. He decides, here's a fight where I'm just, regardless of if I can take him down or I can maybe avoid the submissions, here's a good opportunity for me to outstrike a guy that's not that good of a striking. Work on my own striking. As Paul said, learn on the job. So I think he takes that. He outstrikes him. I don't think it was the cleanest performance out there, but what happens is that people go and say, look how bad his striking looks. He's a bad striker. Okay. Well, so Bo Nickal has been fighting professionally for less than 3 years. Okay. That's what his striking looks like with less than 3 years training experience. He's going to be constantly getting better fight to fight. Whereas when you look at a guy like Reinier de Ruyter, he's been fighting professionally for nearly 13 years. His awful striking is always going to be awful. It's bad. He's a judo black belt. He's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. He's got some really nice grappling. He's not going to take Bo Nickal down. So if he's forced to strike with Bo, I agree with Paul. I think Bo beats him. Does Bo knock him out? Yeah, possibly. I mean, dropping Val Woodburn, whether it was a fluke or whether it was not, Bo's got power in his hands. He just doesn't really know how to throw his hands because no one's ever taught him how to do it. He's been wrestling his entire life. He's at Killcliff. He's still young. He's malleable. He's learning. I think he is a problem. If he knocks him out, great. If not, I think he just wins the decision. The other thing is this is just using the game plan of sprawl and brawl. Don't let him take you down. You're a better striker than him. I also see that Bo Nickal could probably take him down and just ground and pound him a lot. Even if there's say there's a minute left in the round or it's relatively close, it's just mix in the takedowns. He could do that, or he could use his striking. But in both scenarios, I think he wins. And because it's finally a bettable line, yeah, I'm on Team Bo Nickal here.
All right. We move on down. We have Santiago Ponzinibbio taking on Daniel D-Rod Rodriguez. Minus 125 for the Pons right now, plus 105 for Rodriguez. I think it's an incredibly close fight. Full disclosure, through a quarter of a unit because it moved the line, but a quarter of a unit on fight ends in split decision between the two of these guys because they have lots of propensity to go to split decision, but then it moved to plus 300. We'll see where like other places open it up as the fight goes along. I mean, by the numbers, Daniel Rodriguez does land more, 7.5 versus 4.8. I don't really read too much into that. Went and watched, their most recent performances, and even that Morono fight for D-Rod, he almost doubled him up in strikes, and still still ended up having to ended up in a split decision. I didn't necessarily agree with the split decision, but just kind of shows you. I think if gun to my head, I think these guys are really close. They're both 38. Their reach, their dynamics, everything is very, very close between the two of them. I lean Pons because I've seen in the Salikov fight, and I forget the other fight off the top of my head, or against Jeff Neal, because I wanted to see him fight a southpaw again. And that was 3 years ago, and I think Pons isn't the same guy as he was 3 years ago, but the same situation is that I think what it comes down to for me is that there is a world where like Pons is able to just enough mix in takedowns and maybe steal some rounds. So Pons is the pick ever so hesitantly, but like my preferred play here is fight ends in split decision at plus money. Because you know me, I'm addicted to plus money. What's your take here, Coach?
Yeah, I got Pons winning. I think it's going to could possibly be a little more violent. Like you got two guys that are right at the tail end of their career. Daniel Rodriguez is 38 years old. Ponzinibbio is nearly 40 himself. They're both strikers. It's going to be there's a massive live crowd that are going to be hot for a finish. Feel like somebody's probably getting folded over, but I do feel like Ponzinibbio's just got a little bit more left in the gas tank. You mentioned an excellent point about how even in the Alex Morono fight, he's outlanding him by a clear clip, but it's a split decision. And that's kind of the knock on him. He outstruck by the numbers. He outlanded Kelvin Gastelum, but he drops a decision. He outstrikes Neil Magny, but he drops a decision.
Mm-hmm.
He outstruck Jingliang Li pretty cleanly, and he squeaks a split on that one too. It's a lot of touch and go. He's got a jab. He uses his jab, uses his right hand. Is that as he's gotten to 38, he seems way slower. Now, keep in mind the Jingliang Li fight, it came together at weigh-ins. Like it was not the original opponents. It gets switched up. It's at a catch weight of 180. He squeaks by Jingliang Li, a welterweight, who Jingliang Li weighed 170. Rodriguez was 180 at a 10-pound weight advantage. And squeaks out a split decision. But since then, it's like you see these fights. I don't want to say his athleticism's gone. It's just like he's a little bit slower, and therefore he's a little more plodding. He's there to get hit as much as he's throwing at this volume. His power doesn't really seem to materialize. A loss to Ian Gary, that it aged well in that Ian Gary's good, but it did not age well in that he gets knocked out by Ian Gary in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So does he have durability issues? Not so much he's chinny as much as he's had a lot of wear and tear, and he's now 38, and there's different scenarios. When you look at Morono, I believe Morono just retired, but he's washed. He's on a bad streak. He's losing fights. He's getting knocked out now. That's kind of the end. When he fights guys like Kelvin Gastelum, even though he can outland him, he's getting out hustled. The bigger shots are coming from the opposition. Ponzinibbio, he dug deep for me in that Carlson Harris fight his last time out. Now he gets dropped. He gets hurt. It looks like you could stop this fight if you wanted to, but he finds a way to survive. And then the longer this thing goes and the greasier it gets, he's got the heart of a champion. His body ain't reacting as much as it used to. His eyesight ain't as good as it used to be. His speed is also on the decline massively, but he's got the heart of a warrior. And I feel like in a close fight, it's lying close. I get it. It's probably going to be close. I get it. Paul believes it could be a split decision. That speaks to the closeness of this fight. But I feel like Ponzinibbio just grits it out a little bit more, lands a few bigger shots, and either wins that split or lands with something clean and knocks him out completely. So I'll take Santiago Ponzinibbio straight up.
All right, we got Montel Jackson taking on Daniel Marcos. Montel is a minus 201 favorite. Marcos can be had for plus 170. Marcos 23-0 if you include his amateur fights. 17-0. I still maintain that Davey Grant beat him, but I lost a shoey bet to you for that one. Well, that's in the past, Paul. Leave that in the past. It was on a different network. Calm down, bro. I'm kidding, but my God, Montel Jackson. I mean, he's 33 years old now, and it's almost kind of a shame that he just hasn't been more active. Because like that Blackshear knockout, woo, baby, like it was so clean. And it's like it looks like a two-piece combo. It's actually. He throws the right almost as if it's a jab, but it's more of like a parry that like stops Blackshear from bringing up his hands to defend the straight left that is coming down the pipe. His last two fights, hit that fight and Ronnie Yaya. Shows against Yaya, shows like, some takedown defense, ability to get out of a somewhat tough position against Yaya, and then absolutely blasts him. And then before that, it was the fight with Julio Arce, and then that's the other side of Montel Jackson, where it's like, a little tit for tat. He won the fight cleanly, but he doesn't really impress you all that much with what he's doing. Hit, don't get hit. I mean, if you look at stats and stuff for this fight, it would probably lead you towards Marcos. Marcos is durable, everything like that. I just the reach, the length, and how well he uses it. I think the grappling even. And like Marcos has, got a couple takedowns last time out against Adrian Yanez, but it's not really like he's not really able to hold the position, not able to do all that much with it. This is all to say that, like, I feel like Daniel Marcos's O is about to go. Maybe we'll wait until weigh-ins before we start adding Montel Jackson to parlays, but he's my pick this week. What about you?
Yeah, I want to take Montel Jackson. I feel like I may take Montel Jackson, but the price is just scaring me right off this thing completely. I don't believe him to be a 2-1 favorite. Do I think he could win this fight? Do I think he wins it more often than Daniel Marcos wins it? Yeah, sure. But at 2-1, I'm just like struggling to get to it. Here's my issue with Montel Jackson. He debuts as a pro at 25. He's now 33 years old. And over that course of 8 years, he's just not been active, like at all. And this is his run of UFC. This is his UFC wins. Brian Kelleher, retired, cut. Fights for BKFC Ice Wars. I don't know why. Andre Sugmatath, retired, cut. Felipe Colares, cut. Brett Johns, cut. Jesse Strader, cut. JP Buys, cut. Julio Arce, cut. Ronnie Yaya, cut. Damon Blackshear, it's a nice little win because Blackshear's on a run of his own. But he knocks him out in 18 seconds. So, like, does he dominate him? Does he out-grapple him? Does he show that he's got heart, or does he show that he's got cardio? No, he doesn't. None of that. He just shows you he's got power, and, like, you can't take that away from him. They say he's got the biggest hand in the UFC. He's got big proportions for the weight class, 135 pounds. You look at how tall he is. You look at his length, and he's got big power. Like, you cannot take that away from him. But he's been the distance 5 times in the UFC, so not always knocking guys out. But in those 5 times that he's gone to the decision, he's never landed more than 75 significant strikes in a fight. He's low volume. So I got a guy that's fairly inactive. He fights once a year. All of his wins in the UFC are over guys that are no longer with the promotion. He's low volume, but, like, yeah, if he hits you, he'd cook you. So maybe he's just a puncher's chance guy. And if he's just a puncher's chance guy at minus 200, I really don't like it. He will offensively lean on his grappling from time to time. Like, he's physically strong. And if he gets you up against a clinch, he could, throw you to the canvas or, complete a takedown and get on top. But as a whole, like, he hasn't completed a takedown since the JP Buys fight, which was 3 years ago. He took Brett Johns down twice, but he also himself got taken down 8 times in that fight. And the Buys fight's another interesting one, right? He knocks down JP Buys, a flyweight, 4 times, but does not knock him out. Mm-hmm. By comparison, JP Buys lost all of his other fights. Bruno Silva, a flyweight, knocked him out. Cody Durden's a flyweight, knocked him out. Of course, Marcus McGee's a real bantamweight. He knocked him the shit out. But point being is that how good is Montel Jackson's power? So I don't know. I got question marks. Marcos, we know because he's Peruvian that he's durable and he's got cardio. And that in itself is a lot, because whereas Montel Jackson's best weapon is his natural God-gifted power, if he can't turn the lights off on Marcos, well, is he really going to have to scrap this guy? And in terms of who's got the better cardio, he conserves himself well because he's not high output. He really does kind of serve himself well 1 to 3. But Marcos might be able to push more of a pace. By the numbers, by the volume, Marcos throws more. Paul's right in his assessment that the Davy Grant fight is an absolute stinker. But it's an outlier performance because everything else has been pretty solid, right? He's not young, but I do think he's making improvements. He'll show up in shape. He'll fight for your dollar. And so if you're looking for a live underdog of the fights that we've talked to this point, I feel like Marcos is what you would consider a live underdog. Will I get there personally? I don't know. I want to. I really want to. But I rate Montel Jackson. I think this guy's good. It's that he's not world class, and he shouldn't be 2-1 over a guy that's performing at a high level so far. So I don't know. There's just still I got questions that still need to be answered. I'll wait until it wanes before I make a final decision on that one. But as of right now, I'll take Marcos.
We move on down. We have Serhiy taking on Cameron Smotherman, minus 136 for City, plus 116 for Smotherman. Who you got here?
Yeah, I got Cameron Smotherman as a live underdog. So I've watched this guy for a long time, and there's really one thing that's undeniable about him is that he can't defensively wrestle. If you want to take him down, you are going to take him down. All of his losses, well, outside of him getting knocked out in the Contender Series, all of his other losses, for the most part, are him getting taken down and controlled. A vast majority of his wins, like the Mando Gutierrez fight, are him getting taken down and controlled, but then eventually coming back and winning the fight. So that's the clear error in his game. But if you do not take him down, if you want to stand in front of him, he's got really sharp striking. He throws volume, he throws power, he's crisp, he's technical, got a really nice jab, decent footwork. He wants to scrap. He wants to put on a hell of a show. He wants to have a 15-minute war, but everybody takes the easy path on him and takes him down. So I feel like this is a guy that if you do not try to exploit that, it's going to be troublesome for you. The other thing is that, he's fighting on the regional scene and he loses on the Contender Series, and it's an unfortunate setback, but he's getting in high-level rounds. So Adrian Yanez is one of Adrian Yanez's top training partners. So Yanez goes to Abu Dhabi. He fights over in the Middle East, and they need somebody last minute to fight Jake Hadley. So they call him up. They're like, okay, where are you at? He's like, man, I'm in the Middle East right now. They're like, fly from there straight to Vegas, takes the fight short notice against Jake Hadley, shows improved takedown defense. Of course, he's working on it. It's the hole in his game. But beyond that, throws up huge volume, doesn't really tire, throws an excellent UFC debut. Hadley, even though he isn't great, is a solid enough fighter that this is a quality debut. After that, though, so when Diego Lopez fought Sodiq Youssef, right, he spent 6 weeks in Vegas and he brought Cameron Smotherman down. So Smotherman's buddies with Diego Lopez. So for this camp, Diego Lopez is like, hey, let me treat you. You come down to Lobo's gym. So that's where he's been. He's been in Mexico the last 12 weeks, 16 weeks training pretty high level, getting in some quality rounds, full fight camp. You're going to see an excellent version of him. Serhiy, meanwhile, it's like he's just defensively very, very irresponsible. He's also an all-action guy. He's going to meet you in the center of the cage. He's going to throw high volume. He's going to throw leather with you. He's very entertaining, but he doesn't particularly move his head. He gets hit a lot in all these fights. His runs so far includes Contender Series fight with Ramon Tavares. Drops Tavares. I thought it was a nice performance. Everybody else said it was a really early stoppage, so they felt the need to run it back. They run it back. I also thought Serhiy won that fight. I thought he edged the split decision, but in either scenario, his face is destroyed. So there's a lot of damage there, and you can't look away from that. They ended up giving it to Ramon Tavares. Then they fight him and Garrett Armfield. Garrett Armfield outstruck him by the numbers in the first, basically in all the rounds, but certainly in the first 2 rounds. And then the third round, he spammed takedowns, went 3 for 3, held him down. Serhiy is 0 for 8 on takedown attempts. He's never come close to a takedown so far in the UFC. He came up 0 for 3 against Ramon Tavares his last time, or 2 times ago. Again, same thing with Garrett. And we're not talking he shoots a takedown and there's a scramble and you get back up. When he shoots a takedown, there's no motion to it whatsoever. So him taking Smotherman down, to me, is not what he's going to do, because he doesn't fight like that. And 2, not something that he necessarily can do. Smotherman's getting beat up by D2 wrestlers all the time, D1 wrestlers, BJJ black belts. City shouldn't really pose those problems. And so if you want to stand in front of Smotherman, which you will, it's going to be fight of the night. You got a book that offers you what's going to be fight of the night. It'd be this. They're 2 bantamweights that are going to absolutely be throwing heat. There's going to be a lot of blood. There's going to be a lot of damage. There's going to be a lot of oohs and ahs. But Cameron Smotherman is either going to sleep him or he's going to win the decision. So the fact that he's plus money, I like that. And I know I him and hot on Marcos, and it's technically a dog pick, but it's I got no confidence in. Smotherman's a dog pick that I can get behind. So for me, that's who I'm going to lock in.
Yeah, the last little thing, I agree with you. Smotherman is a play that I have been circling the wagons on this week. The one last little thing that I will throw to the table here is Garrett Armfield's profile here. Share this tab instead. Went 3 for 3 in round 3 on the takedowns, 4 of 5 in the fight overall. But you go through Garrett Armfield's performances, and it's just he's getting taken down 6 times by High Stand, 4 times by Katona, twice by David Onama. And we're talking David Onama 3 years ago. It's the wrestling has improved for Onama since then, and it's still not even that great. So he's getting wrestled by non-wrestlers and then didn't really have much issue. I mean, he probably got those takedowns in round 3 and said, man, why didn't I start doing this earlier? But that's the final little thing I'll add to it. We got a fun one next. Share this tab instead. I gotta stop saying share this tab instead and just share the tab. Learning on the job here, guys.
Yeah, once about time.
Yeah. Mason Jones and Jeremy Stephens making their return to the UFC. Mason Jones, minus 525 favorite. Jeremy Stephens, who you can see fighting in like BKFC recently, is plus 410. How are you approaching this one? Like, Stephens obviously kept in touch with the UFC. They probably like him. He's always been a fan favorite, and he's from Des Moines.
That's the key.
He's selling tickets, right?
No doubt.
But good for Jeremy to get back in there. I don't know if it's going to be a one and done. It very well might be a one and done type of thing. I don't know financially how they're hooking him up here, but I love Lil Heathen, so I'm happy to see him back. How are you approaching this from a betting perspective, Coates?
Yeah, it's interesting that the UFC's like, hey, we're going to Des Moines, Iowa. Who is an absolute hero of Iowa? And there's so many, but who's Pat Miletich ain't fighting? You know what I'm saying? Tim Sylvia ain't fighting. Matt Hughes ain't fighting. Jens Pulver ain't fighting. Like all those guys from Miletich back in the day, they ain't fighting. Jeremy Stephens is like that last relic of like prime Iowa MMA. This guy's a badass. This guy's a slugger. This guy's a fan favorite. So the UFC orchestrates this deal to bring him back in, which is interesting for sure because he's been doing bare knuckle boxing. When he was fighting MMA last, he went 1-2 in PFL and really didn't look good over there. So it's certainly interesting they would bring him back. But why not bring him back and say, hey, the return of Jeremy Stephens, all action guy, and let him fight a bum to the crowd's delight? Why is he a 6-1 underdog to this guy? Like they gave him no favorable matchups. But again, that comes back to he wouldn't have left BKFC to take a small paycheck in a UFC return. So they're giving him a nice payday and they're expecting him to go out there and earn this thing. I just feel like MMA is probably not it for Jeremy Stephens anymore. He's been doing boxing. He boxed Jose Aldo. He boxed Chris Avila, lost that fight as well for the record. But he's been doing bare knuckle boxing, beats Eddie Alvarez. He can have fun fights in a small circle with no gloves in 2-minute rounds. And you can't take him down. Good luck with this guy. Like he's the hardest hitter of the division of all time, just like he told Conor McGregor back in the day. Even Conor really doesn't want to fight the guy. It's like Jeremy Stephens is building up his profile, and it's just not a fight that's pretty. But if you can take him down and you can control him, then that's the way to go. And I feel like for Mason Jones, that's likely what he does do. If it was just striking versus striking, Mason Jones has a lot more volume than Jeremy Stephens, and he will just outwork him over the stretch of this thing. And Stephens could nuke him with a bomb, but this ain't 145, man. This is 155. And he's taking on a guy, Mason Jones, that's fought basically his entire career at 155. So that power is going to be less. That puncher's chance is less. If you want to strike with this guy, you're waiting for that big shot to open up, and slowly, low-key, you're just getting outworked. So Jones wins the fight on standing. The other problem is that Jones is he's a former top 5 nationally ranked judoka in the UK. He's a judo black belt. He's a BJJ black belt. And at his best, he can train wrestle. He's done this entire camp at Team Alpha Male, and sure to God, he's going to come out here and he's going to make some takedowns against Jeremy Stephens. So I just don't think stylistically it's a good matchup for Stephens at all. Now, how do I approach this thing? Excellent question. Do you just take this money line thinking Mason Jones is one of your layups this week? Potentially, but maybe Jeremy Stephens is just very tough, and it's a home crowd and it's a live crowd, and I've seen Mason Jones grind out worse guys to decisions than Jeremy Stephens, so maybe why not take Mason Jones by decision, or the fight to just outright go to decision? Maybe that's the way I approach it. But in either scenario, I do believe Mason Jones does win the fight in his UFC return.
Yeah, sadly, I do too. But I prefer. I don't know if I'm going to get to Mason Jones on like any sort of parlays or anything. Like I actually prefer Sandhagen. I think it's just you never know. Especially we always talk about and like we don't see the stuff that goes on behind the scenes and people in their ears and stuff like that. What if that special someone gets into Mason's ear and says, "Don't wrestle him. Slug it out for the fans. We're gonna book you another fight regardless." I'm just saying. I don't know what to do with it from a betting perspective. But
I did consider that, but what I would say is that Mason Jones never been knocked out, and he's proven to just have one of those like classic Welsh pikey chins. He can take one hell of a punch. And so again, I just feel like he's gonna outwork him. Most notably that boxing match against Chris Avila. When you watch it, Avila's just like long and gangly and just gets his jab going, just outworks him. But if you want to look by MMA standards, his last 3 MMA fights were PFL. Nathan Schultz takes him down and chokes him out pretty effortlessly. I think Mason could do that. Miles Price, he beats Miles Price on a split decision that I thought should have been unanimous, but it was not a good fight. And he's like a 9-1 favorite over him. And then Clay Collard, who just like flat out outworks him. His last UFC fight is 1 minute long against Mateusz Gamrot. He gets taken down one single time and submitted by a Kimura right away. So as far as knocking out Eddie Alvarez without gloves on, it's badass. In terms of MMA, his last 4 fights, not been good at all. So Mason Jones, even if it just stays standing, someone gets in his ear and says, don't take him down. He's got excellent durability and just more pace. He's just going to hustle him. Does mix in a takedown. We got a path to victory with a submission or just win the round with some control time as well. So I think we're looking good. But again, it's Jeremy Stephens. I love the guy. I hate betting against him. But small fact, first bet I ever won in my life on MMA was Joe Lozon submitting Jeremy Stephens like 2008 or something, 2009. So Jeremy Stephens, a full circle moment. I need him to lose for me again right here.
There's a reason you come to the Dogger Pass podcast for your UFC picks, just like there's a reason why Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, Morgan & Morgan has been fighting for the people just like you and I. They have over 100 offices and more than 1,000 lawyers nationwide. When hiring Morgan & Morgan, it's like hiring an army that's got your back. If you're injured by the negligence of another, you deserve to be paid. When you hire the wrong law firm, you might be beat before you start. All law firms are not the same. If you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/doggerpass or dial pound law, pound 529 from your cell phone. That's forthepeople.com/doggerpass or pound law, pound 529 from your cell. This is a paid advertisement.
all right, we move on down. We've got Yana Santos taking on Miesha Tate. Miesha Tate's the favorite, -135. Santos can be after +115. Who you got?
Yeah, how times have changed, right? So they're in Iowa, and Jeremy Stephens, who is a legend, is like on the bottom of the main card. And then Miesha Tate, who is a Hall of Famer, pretty sure she's already in the Hall of Fame. Former world title champion, and she chokes out Holly Holm, and she fought Ronda Rousey, and she's on the prelims of a free fight night in Iowa. Man, makes you feel shitty, doesn't it? Her whole thing is like they just got to give her favorable matchups. She's not going to fight all that often. She's a mother now, and she's, I guess 38 is really not all that old, but especially for women's MMA, it's like heavyweight. You could fight deeper for sure. See it all the time. But she's going to need some of these favorable matchups where offensively she can use her wrestling. Her striking, although it's probably gotten a little bit better over the years, at this stage it is what it is, and it's just not elite by any stretch. Her grappling, BJJ black belt, solid submission game, solid grappling. But it's all going to be predicated and dictated by whether she can get the fight to the ground with that wrestling. And so when you give her girls like Lauren Murphy, who are just really, really tough. Ketlin Vieira, very, very big. Raquel Pennington, very, very big and very, very tough. And Amanda Nunes, the GOAT. Against them, it's just not going to work. Against someone like Julia Avila in her last fight, it works spectacularly because it's a path of victory that she can still exploit against that level of competition. Yana Kunakaya also in a situation where she's in the later stages of her own career. And I don't know, I just feel like Holly Holm took her down 4 times. That to me was like, here's the path of victory. Other girls have used it in the past. Miesha Tate, it's one of those, she's not, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Let me have a good, fun fight. It's like, you got to minimize damage taken and fight the smartest game plan. She fights once a year. She gets in real good shape. She puts in a real good camp, and she goes out there and fights a good game plan. And so depending on the opponent, that can still work. And I feel like Yana Santos, Kunitskaya, however you want to call it, I feel like she's that level of opponent that it can still work on. So it's It's women's MMA. It's probably a closely contested fight. I certainly think it goes to decision. I got Miesha Tate. If I want to try to get a better price on, I would take Miesha Tate by decision specifically. But in either scenario, if it's close and it's contentious, everyone should be on Miesha's side, right? She's a Hall of Famer. The crowd's going to be behind her. The judges just got to accept that that's the way it is. If it's close, give it to her. If it's not close, great. Miesha Tate did her job properly, but I just hope she wins, and that's going to be my pick there.
Does Miesha have any connections to Iowa? Like, is this like
She
a
didn't-
homecoming?
Yeah,
or
no, she's Pacific Northwest originally, back when she was with
Yeah, I
Brian
thought so, yeah.
Caraway. And then after that, she spent like a lot of time in Las Vegas, and she's been in Las Vegas a really
It's weird
long
that
time.
she's on
so.
this card of all cards.
Well, just that she's a prelim fight. It's not a pay-per-view event. It's a prelim fight. And it's like,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to send you over there. I don't even like her new man, Johnny Nunez. Like, he's not from Iowa. I don't know the connection. I don't know why the bout placement was done the way it was. It's possible that the UFC is renegotiating a television deal coming up, and they want to show that the prelims are getting good numbers as well. Like, who knows? It's just something that's above me. But Jeremy Stevens and Miesha Tate are on the card, and
Mhm.
they're just like small little clogs on a free fight night card. So, just as I said, if you're in Iowa or you're close to Iowa, you can go to Des Moines and you can make this event. This is a fine looking offering as far as I'm concerned. They did a good job. It's just a little bit head puzzling why they selected to throw who they did on the card and the bout order, certainly.
100%. All right, we move on down the card. We got Azamat Bekoev taking on Ryan Loder. Bekoev is a minus 380 favorite. Loder can be out for plus 315. Your thoughts?
I'm gonna take Ryan Loder. He's a big underdog.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't expect- Full
I know.
disclosure, that was my first click this week, bro.
Oh yeah, you got him too. Okay,
I bet him at plus 330.
the plus.
I was
month just
was
looks
that
too
guy.
good,
I was
right?
that guy
Yeah.
right there. And it just
Yeah.
kind of sat there since I bet it, but I threw a unit on it. Not because I think he's necessarily going to win. I just think it could be close enough that 3 plus 330 would be a good bet. But yeah, carry on.
Well, yeah, that's basically it. Is like Ryan Loder does not look good. The tape doesn't look good in that he can't really strike, and he's this and that, and he's this and that. But like, he's got a real good story. Like, if you just like peel back some of the layers. So he's 33 now. He just won the Ultimate Fighter. He's just a stock wrestler, but he made his pro debut at 30 years old 3 years ago. Back in the day, he's a two-time California State Wrestling Champion. He's a two-time Fargo Freestyle All-American. He was formerly ranked number 1 in the state of California. Collegiately, 4 years at Northern Iowa. So he's a California boy, but his ties are to Iowa because he spent 4 years there, where he's a 4-time D1 national qualifier, a D1 All-American, 3 top 12 finishes at the championships. His career record in college is 114-27. After college, he finishes 6th at the men's U.S. Open. He can wrestle for sure. He can wrestle. When you watch him and you say, "Oh, he can't strike," he has no idea. He's like Bo Nickal. He's picking this up later on. Bo's younger. Bo's had a little more time. But in Ryan Loder's case, like, what the hell does he know? But here's what happens. He coaches after this. After he stops competing, he coaches. He moves over to Santiago State, coaches there for a couple years, and then Team Alpha Male brings him in to be the wrestling coach at Team Alpha Male. More specifically, Song Yadong uses him as his wrestling coach, and he corners Song Yadong. And Alexander Fluffy Hernandez uses him as his wrestling coach, and he corners Fluffy in Fluffy's fights. Fluffy credits him as his top training partner. Loder credits Fluffy Hernandez as his top training partner. So when you think, wow, Fluffy's really good at wrestling, and wow, he's really chain wrestling, and wow, he really has good cardio, that's what Loder brings to the table. Does he have the jiu-jitsu of Fluffy? No chance. And Fluffy's not a good striker, but still way better than Ryan Loder. So the other elements are missing. But this boy can wrestle. And of course, because it's something that he's just picking up, the other skills, you will see improvements from him to fight. He's coming off like a year-long layoff, hasn't fought since the Tough finale. But again, he fought twice on the show and then once in the finale itself. So maybe that's some type of wear and tear on its own. I just feel like he has the path where he can go out there and wrestle. Now, Bekoev, meanwhile, you think, oh man, he's Russian and he's EV, and his style is wrestling, but he comes from like I don't even know if it's North Essentia, but he comes from the Essentia Mountains, and he can wrestle, but he's stiff and he's robotic. When he's in fights, he's looking to just bull you over. Doesn't look like he's all that good of an athlete. He does have a couple nice wins, but I don't really rate his striking. It's also stiff and robotic, way better than Loder's, but I don't rate him as an actually decent striker. looking at some of his fights, like on LFA, who's the guy we
The
always give a hard
Budka
time?
fight was key to me.
The Dylan Budka fight. So Budka
competitive on
wrestled
the feet.
yeah, and Budka wrestled D2 at
Mhm.
Notre Dame College in Ohio, and in his MMA fights doesn't really wrestle. And when he fights other wrestlers, he's getting taken down constantly. In that fight, he struggles in every round. He gets wobbled by a couple check left hooks from Dylan Budka. He gets moved back by Dylan Budka. There's a whole lot of things I don't like here. The fight before that, same thing. It goes 5 rounds. He's getting hit. Cardio doesn't look good. His striking is certainly a little bit stiff. His fight with Chauncey Foxworth, I think that's his last one before he jumps in the UFC. Chauncey Foxworth takes him down, and then like a nice takedown. He hits him with a double leg, like clean, just out muscles him over. I'm like, God damn. I truly believe that this guy that is a wrestler first is not that good of a striker. It looks good that he wins his debut against Zach Reese by taking him down. Zach Reese is big, long guy, suspect durability, and he throws up a submission. You're able to ground and pound him. That looks good. But I don't think he's a heavy-handed guy for the most part. He does have knockout wins on his record, but he's also got fights where he splits a 5-round fight with Dylan Budka. So power punching, I don't think, is necessarily as good as it looks on paper. The wrestling, although he's been using that as a path to victory against lower-level guys, I don't think it checks out against Loder. And then Bekoev, all of his losses, when you watch all of these guys, all of this guy's losses, you bring those fights up. It's him getting out wrestled. It's him getting put on his back, which I believe Loder should be able to do. There's other Team Alpha Male guys on the card. They're going to have a good following out at this show. He should be in good shape. I'm hoping. I haven't been able to find out what the layoff was for, like the injury. But the only thing that concerns me, he's a big underdog. I know what I'm getting myself into. The only thing that really concerns me is that Ryan Loder was supposed to fight Cody Brundage March 1st, right? So that it's less than 2 months ago. He's supposed to fight Bumdage, and Loder pulls out. And now less than 2 months later, he's good to go against Azamat Bekoev. That's the UFC saying, okay, buddy, you have to pull out. Sure. They're doing him no favors. He's a big underdog. I get it. I just think that he's a live underdog. He's got the style that can go out there and grind out a close fight. In Iowa, I have no idea, so this is more of a joke than anything else, but I imagine there's going to be a bunch of USA chants. And hopefully the crowd's hot for Loder and the judges are hot for Loder and they give him a decision. I don't think he finishes by any stretch. I think he could just do a fluffy Hernandez type, take this guy's soul, chain wrestle him, make him carry your weight, tire him out, and win at least 2 of these 3 rounds. So underdog money here, Ryan Loder. If you're greedy, Ryan Loder by decision.
Yeah, Loder by decision is like plus 600.
That's his
that's probably the likely path. What's him by split decision for real sickos? Plus 1400.
That's not a terrible angle as well, because they're looking at damage versus control time. Loder may have control time, but not necessarily damage.
But he's American, so he's gonna get
and he's on top for 7.5 minutes of the fight. You know, like that should count for something.
Can he get takedowns? I'm not 100% sure.
Loder, right? I think he can. I think
that's like my handicap process went like I'm not 100% sure, and like. It was a lot of standing cage control against Budka. And I will say that it's like it was a 5-round fight. And like he basically kind of just like leaned against him in rounds 4 and 5. Like it wasn't all that impressive. But like, and I will also say that it's like I thought like a split was probably a bad scorecard, to be perfectly honest. Like I thought Bekoev won pretty clearly watching that fight back. But either way, like we've seen what Budka has done in the UFC since he's got here. It's like the man could barely. Who's the kickboxer?
Oh yeah.
Barely wrestle that guy.
Yeah, no, he hasn't wrestled anybody.
The guy who fought Pereira. That I've lost money on.
Yeah, Almeida.
Yeah,
Cesar Almeida.
Cesar Almeida. You could barely wrestle that guy. So, I mean, he got a little bit of help from the judge, if memory serves correct.
I'll tell you,
the referee.
I'll tell you my biggest takeaway is when you watch Budka in the UFC, he looks petrified. Like he does not want to engage. He's sitting at range. He does not. And then when you watch the Bekoev fight, it's like he's having a good time in there. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna dog walk this guy. I'm gonna throw some punches. I'm gonna open up, and he stings him a few times. So it's no knock to Budka, but Budka had like 2 years of experience himself. If you look at Budka's record, he himself is a former college wrestler with very little pro experience in terms of years competing, and yet he gives this guy everything he can handle. Whereas Bekoev has been fighting his entire life, and he's 33 now. So like this is the best version of. Sorry, he's 29 now. He's 29. maybe he gets a little bit better. And he spends a little time at ATT, but there's a lot of Russians at ATT. They're not all going to be good. I think this guy's one of the not so good ones. So we'll have to wait and see what happens on Saturday. But Paul likes it. Okay, great. We didn't even discuss this pre-hand. It worked out that I happened to like a random nearly 3-1 betting underdog, and Paul's on board. So I'm happy with that.
And I liked most of the favorites before this. So is what it is. But we move on down the card. We have Gillian Robertson taking on Marina Rodriguez. Gillian Robertson's about a minus 300 favorite. Comeback on Rodriguez is plus 250. Here's what I think is the most likely outcome. And we see it over and over in all of Marina Rodriguez's fights. Doesn't really clear underhooks very well. A lot of the takedowns against Lucindo here that she gave up were basically what I see on tape from Gillian Robertson over and over and over. Just like charging forward, grab underhooks, peel you to the mat. Really lies flat on her back in a whole bunch of situations. It's not optimal. It's not pretty. It's not great. Andrade barely tried to wrestle at all. I think she got like one takedown. Barely even tried. Waterson, I believe, got like a takedown in that fight. Over and over again, it's just like, yeah, there is a hole in the game. And Gillian Robertson is younger, making improvements, everything like that. But I'm only human, Cody, and I set a line for myself, and one of my books opened up props today. And I said to myself, if I can get 10-1 on Marina Rodriguez by KO, I'm only human, and I'm going to take it. One of them opened it up today, so I put like 0.3 units on it to win 3 units because I'm a sick degen like that. But what do I think most likely happens? I think Gillian Robertson gets takedowns, peels it to the ground. It's very, very hard to sub. Verna spent the full 15 minutes on top of Marina Rodriguez, so it's not easy to sub her. But I do think, Gillian Robertson has the stylistic components to her game to win a very, very convincing decision here. But you know me, I'm a sick bastard. So Marina by KO at the best number you can get. Let's hope for a little bit of chaos, but that's where I'm at on this fight. What about you?
Yeah, I suppose I could see it happening, but I got Gillian Robertson by decision. Listen, the book has been out for Marina Rodriguez a long time, and she's 38, so she ain't gonna shore it up. But she's been taken down at least once by her last 11 opponents. 11 opponents have each taken her down at least one time. She's been taken down 22 times over that stretch. So it is what it is. She hits hard by divisional standards. I've always said Marina Rodriguez had some of the better power in the division, but nobody overly really wants to stand with her. So they're going to shoot those takedowns over and over and over and over again. Gillian Robertson, at times, she wants to be very exciting, and she'll go for the submission. She'll give up a good position to go for the sub, and that's a bad look. Guys like Paul that got this Marina Rodriguez KO prop, that's going to help that. Because stapling her down, your KO prop ain't going to happen. Going for these wild scrambles is going to give Marina Rodriguez a chance to maybe get back up and then plant you with one. So I don't love that. But since she's been linked up with Dean Thomas, it's like she's using her grappling as a first and foremost. Yes, her striking's getting better. She spends time with at the Goat Shed in Miami. She's working on those other elements. But her BJJ black belt and overall ability to get these fights to the mat is really what's going to shine through. Again, you look at it's not MMA math, but it's Marina Rodriguez has been out-grappled in this last number of stretch of fights. Gillian Robertson, meanwhile, has won 5 of her last 6. She's currently on a 3-fight winning streak, and it's all by taking down her opponents. She out-grapples Michelle Waterson with 2 takedowns, Luana Pinera with 5 takedowns, Poliana Viana with 2 takedowns. None of those are world-class wins. None of those are, this girl's going to be the next title contender type wins, but they're all solid victories, and she fought solid game plans. So as long as she does that, she beats Marina Rodriguez all day. And so, 3-1 women's MMA, like, you can't love it. But I do have Gillian Robertson to get the job done.
Yeah. So, that's the most likely outcome.
Most likely.
And as I'm not even taking Marina money line because of what I do. Like, I feel like she's going to have to clip her because otherwise she's going to be spending so much time on her back over and over and over. I don't think she has any sort of submission upside. So it's like, I feel like her path to victory here is to get the KO. She hasn't been, and Gillian hasn't been KO'd since Macy Barber way back when. So it's been a long time. Gillian's made a lot of improvements since then. It's unlikely, but that's why it's 10-1. And you know me, I have to feed my degeneracy sometimes, Cody. I can't help it. Can't help it. I love hitting long props. It's not necessarily always the best thing. Um, in terms of, it can be a bit of a grind sometimes, but when it pops, it really pops off. All right, we got Gaston Bolanos taking on Quang Lee, minus 140 for Gaston. Quang Lee can be at plus 120. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, so Quang Lee really isn't like any type of real prospect. I don't believe you look at him. He's a Vietnamese fighter, but he's been in the U.S. for I can't say his whole life, but like his entire career has been spent in the United States, and he's just kind of short on really big fights, big wins. As an amateur, he was 7-4, lost to a couple of regional show guys that went pro, but never really broke on through to that next level. As a pro, it's a lot of lower level fights. And then he wins a split decision over Sal Carrero, a head kicks Cody Peterson, beats Thian Thang, he's a betting underdog in that Thang fight. And just like that, they put him on the Contender Series, which is fair. He's in his 30s. He doesn't look like he's any type of real prospect, but it's a good spot to throw him on the Contender Series and just, prove what you've got. The Contender Series opportunity still would have happened, but they need someone short notice for Chris Gutierrez, and he just jumps in that Gutierrez fight. I'll admit in that Gutierrez fight, he's getting outstruck. He's a little bit low volume. He's, puzzled by the constant movement and the leg kicks by Gutierrez, which is all fair. Mixes in a few takedowns, lost the decision. Wasn't a terrible performance, to be honest. The next fight with Long Zhao, now I'm kind of having some faith in this guy. He looked good, relatively short notice, against Chris Gutierrez, a ranked bantamweight who had headlined a card with Song Yadong in his fight prior. So show me this guy in a full camp, but yeah, he's not it, man. He wants to strike first, but again, he's low volume. I don't think he's got some huge power. He's got some decent kicks. He's got some decent power in those kicks, but his win condition to me is likely finish the fight. If not, he's prone to getting outworked. Could he mix in a few takedowns the way he did against Chris Gutierrez? Maybe, but everybody takes down Chris Gutierrez, and the fact is that he didn't have that easy of a time with him.
No,
Gaston Bolanos, Paul and I talk about him all the time, his lion fight career and his Muay Thai and the spinning back elbows, and he was super exciting. But bottom line is, why would anybody in their right mind want to stand with this guy? So all of his losses are people taking him down. So what a smart guy this guy is. He decides, hey, I'm going to go over to AKA in San Jose, and I'm going to work with them and work my grappling with them and work my wrestling with them. And he's only 32 years old, but Peruvian guy, good cardio, good durability. He really just needs to figure out the grappling. And over his last couple of fights, to me, it looks infinitely better. Now, 2 fights ago, my boy Marcus McGee absolutely nukes him. Bad look, but McGee's good. It's that last fight with Cordavius Romeus. Yeah, he's currently cut from the UFC. Yeah, he's no good. But Bolanos is scrambling. Bolanos is sweeping. Bolanos is landing takedowns of his own. Of course, he can't strike. But now he's adding those other elements to his game, which is going to make him dangerous. Against Quang Lee, if this fight stays standing, I do believe he outstrikes Quang Lee. If Quang Lee shoots those takedowns, either he stuffs them or he gets back up. I think Bolanos wins this fight. Is he trustworthy? Yeah, maybe not. Are there holes in his game? Yes, certainly. But he's making improvements. He's got a decent, exciting style. The live crowd's going to want to see an exciting fight. If Quang Lee buys into that, he's getting slapped. If Quang Lee fights it smart, I think Bolanos has added those other skills to his game that he can also fight it smart. But he has lost as a favorite in the past, so buyer beware. He's maybe not the most trustworthy guy going, and I do think he gets the job done and wins the fight. So for me, it's a Gaston Bolanos play.
And you're not going to threaten me with a good time. I mean, I took some Bolanos KO at plus 300 when it opened. And that market's moved quite a bit, so it's like less playable now. I think the best I saw on market right now is like plus 250. But that's still the way I would go about playing it. But I became familiar with Gaston. Lion Fight 16, 2014. Me and the Dirty Bird Kent Carter were down there for International Fight Week, and we caught Lion Fight the day before, and corner stoppage. After round 1, I was just like, this guy can strike. Never expected to see the guy in the UFC, but kind of been following his career ever since then. And no, I saw the same things when I was looking at tape on like Quang Lee. I was just like, this doesn't really make all that much sense. And like I will say on top of that, it's like the two takedowns that he's credited against Gutierrez, it's like he caught kicks. Which, I mean, Gaston, I guess he could catch kicks against Gaston as well, but it's like at least Gaston got up against Romius, was able to get his own takedowns. It's like you saw improvements in his game. He's actually younger than Quang Lee. If this turns into just a 15-minute striking affair between the two of them, give me Gaston all day. So, yeah, I think Gaston, the market actually kind of likes Quang Lee this week, and I don't quite understand why. Like it's been getting shorter and shorter every single day. I liked Gaston when I was doing the tape at -150. I like him even more at -140. We move on down. We've got Dante O'Mays taking on Thomas Peterson, -255 for Peterson, plus 215 for D1 Dante. Don't know if his D1 wrestling going to work all that much in this matchup, Cody. How are you handicapping this fight?
Yeah, so Thomas Peterson's another guy that has ties to the area because he wrestled at Northern Iowa as well. I thought he wrestled at Iowa Community. Anyways, yeah, so he wrestled in Iowa. He's a former junior college national champion. Thomas Peterson can wrestle. Thomas Peterson, though, bit of a weird one his last time out. So with Gaziev usually tries to wrestle himself. I thought Peterson should be able to outlast him. He's got better cardio, slightly better athlete, good wrestling. He goes out there and he shoots like a really nice blast double leg. He gets Gaziev right off the ground, plants him on his back immediately. Gaziev just scrambles and stands right back up. Peterson should shoot again. Make him carry your weight. Make him work. Gaziev's got suspect gas tank. Get on it. Instead, he's like, hey, let me try the striking for a bit, and then I'll shoot again. Gets clunked, gets knocked out. Bad look. This fight, I would love to see him now realize I need to shoot. I need to shoot early, and I need to shoot often. That takedown he hit Gaziev with, who's a credible wrestler and a big boy, that same takedown, it takes Dante Mays down. And Dante Mays, who's like 6'6", 6'7", his legs are so long, he doesn't scramble well. He doesn't create space well. He doesn't get back up to his feet. You don't need to take him down 8 times. You need to take him down once in all 3 rounds, and then stapling him down, that's the way to beat him. Do I see Peterson knocking him out? I really don't. Do I see Peterson submitting him? I also really don't. I don't even think Peterson really passes his guard all that much. He either gets caught in full guard or he can maybe pass to half guard, but it's going to be about just getting those takedowns and softening them up. Now, does the UFC want to see that? Maybe not. Does the fans want to see that? Maybe not. Do the judges maybe want to see that? Probably not. The bottom line is that Peterson just got KO'd in his last fight, so he needs to do it for himself. He needs to fight the right game plan. And so for that reason, I believe he goes out there and fights the right game plan. He's fought guys as good as Dante Mays. This is not necessarily the best guy he's fought. Mays, meanwhile, if you want to take him down, you can take him down. That's just been the knock on him. You look at all of his losses, he gets taken down. He's got a very serviceable jab. He's long, he's lengthy. He moves well. He's athletic and he moves well for a big man. And if he can stay on the perimeter, well, he'll just jab and leg kick from the perimeter. So Peterson, who's lower volume and a worse striker, he can't get caught following. He can't get caught moving around. If that's the case, he ain't going to win this fight. He needs to shoot early and often. And if he does that, he wins. Because he just got KO'd, I think he will fight a better game plan this time. And so I got him to win. I do think he wins by decision. But if Mays wins, Mays probably knocks him out. So I don't think this fight necessarily goes to decision in every scenario. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm going to bet this guy by decision and also bet the fight to go to decision, knowing that if my guy does lose, the fight will still go to decision. I still got a little bit of an out. This one's not that. If I bet Peterson by decision, Peterson straight up, fight goes to decision, let's say, Peterson gets cooked in the first round, I see that as a viable scenario that could happen, and then I lose everything. So I don't necessarily love the over-under props as much as I think Peterson uses that wrestling, stifles him, nullifies him, shuts him down, wins the fight.
Yeah. I mean, Dante Mays' power is not really translated too much over in the UFC. Like, he knocked out Arlovsky. It's heavyweights, though. Obviously, crazy things can happen all the time. And yeah, we just saw it with Gaziev, where he made a poor decision, tried to hang out in the pocket, and got absolutely blasted. So I understand the hesitancy coming from you there. But yeah, hopefully he learned his lesson from that. It's like you can't just Dante Almeida is an enormous human, kind of like the Gaziev fight over in the Middle East there. Don't just stand in the pocket and exchange with these guys because you're gonna have a bad time. But his wrestling pedigree, everything like that should 100% lean towards Peterson. Do I feel excited about laying minus 250 on a guy like this? No, not necessarily. But just reenact. It's boring, but it's effective. There's no contest against my boy Handy Anal Swab. It's exactly what you have to do if you are Peterson here. Is 3 takedowns. 100%. I bet you there's a ton of control time.
It's all control time.
It's cut off on this. We're working through the kinks, but it's cut off on the page here. I guarantee there's a lot of control time in there. I don't want to readjust the size of the thing on the spot here. But either way, it's like, watch that fight. That's exactly how you win this fight, Peterson. So nothing more to say besides that.
Gaziev had 12 minutes of control time on him. Rodrigo Nascimento never took him down, but still had 2.5 minutes of control time on him. Hamdy, my boy Hamdy. Yeah, over 6.5 minutes of control time. But it's the 3 of 4 takedowns. It's not 3 of 10. It's when you shoot, he gets taken down. Why'd Gaziev only have 2? Because he didn't need any more than 2. So, and then just to what I was saying earlier, Peterson won a junior college national title at Iowa Central Community College. And then from there, he transferred to University of Northern Iowa, which is a D1 program, the same school that Ryan Loder wrestled out of. So they've got ties to the area. And Iowa likes wrestling. They have a rich history, very rich history in wrestling. Maybe they'll cheer for guys getting taken down and held down. And if that's the case, Peterson, just do your thing, buddy. Do your thing. Get this win.
100%. And finally, we have Juliana Miller taking on Ivana Petrovic. Minus 230 for Petrovic, plus 200 essentially for Juliana Miller. Who you got here?
Yeah, I got Juliana Miller for a couple of reasons. The joke reason being it's a women's MMA fight. I'm taking some plus money. There's a CF dot model in play, of course. There's multiple women's fight on the card. Gillian Robertson's the favorite, but I think she wins. Misha Tate's a slight favorite. I think she wins. One of these women's MMA dogs is coming through. As far as I'm concerned, I feel like Juliana Miller is probably the best of those options. Now, Ivana Petrovic, no knock against her. My Croatian, I don't even know. I'm born in Canada. I call myself Croatian. She's born in Norway and calls herself Croatian. But she does train at ATT Zagreb, so at least she's living there. I'm not all that impressed. She's a judoka, black belt. She's decent in the clinch. Way stronger than Juliana Miller in the clinch. Probably better trip takedowns within that clinch. And her striking, southpaw, when she's moving forward, she's got a nice left hand. She's got a decent little kick. She moves nice forward. Soon as you go on the attack, soon as you throw back, she shells right up. Either she shells up and just doesn't get out of the way, or she becomes like a cat and just gets like very uncomfortable and just like leans back and allows you to step in the pocket and land some shots on her. I think striking wise, you could look at her and say, well, she's a better striker than Miller. But Miller's wily. Miller's got a speed advantage. And although Miller's not a power puncher, at least she throws and she throws hard. The biggest difference here is that Juliana Miller is a BJJ black belt, and she's a good BJJ black belt. If you look at like her competition history before she kind of really got into MMA all that much, is that she's got a win over Beatriz Mesquite, right? And Beatriz is like high-level ADCC competitor, UFC Fight Pass competitor, currently undefeated in MMA. Juliana Miller's right there. She had a lot of good success in BJJ. When you watch her in MMA, you can take her down. Immediately, she's going for a leg. Immediately, she's throwing up an armbar. And whereas girls like Veronica Macedo were able to shut her down, Ivana Petrovic seems to engage you in these wily scrambles, and she's prone to ending up on her back in these bad scrambles. When you look at her UFC debut against Luana Carolina, she's getting arguably out-grappled by Luana Carolina. And she'll get on top. She'll make one small mistake, and all of a sudden, it's like, oh, there's a scramble. Oh, you jump on top of her. Oh, she's got to work her way back up. She gets out hustled in that fight. Her fight with Na Liang is out striking her standing. Na Liang gives her everything she can handle for the first 2 rounds,
Mhm.
and then in the third, she puts her away. In her fight with Jamie Lee Horth,
She gets taken down twice, and Hort's not a wrestler at all.
You know, the interesting thing in the Horth fight is that Ivana right away, she always does this. She punches a little bit, and then as soon as you start to punch back, she just wants to right away. She's so uncomfortable there. She'll just right away engage in the clinch. So she grabs Horth, and it's a head and arm throw. Yes, it still works in women's MMA. So she head and arm throws Horth, right? Horth works her way back up. The second takedown, because they both got 2. The second takedown is another head and arm throw. In both scenarios, she almost gets her back taken or Horth gets back up. Horth doesn't really want to shoot takedowns of her own, but she knows Ivana is just spamming these takedowns. I may as well be on top than fending them off and trying to work my way back up from my back. So Horth just offensively takes her down. And as you mentioned, Paul, Horth's a kickboxer who was just able to outmuscle her. Miller's been off for like 2 years. She got a couple big surgeries, fixed her body up, got healthy. Her grandma died with psychologically messed with her, which you can understand, a beloved family member. So it's like, what has she done for me lately? Absolutely nothing. And that's the reason why she's a betting underdog here, is you don't know what to expect. But she's still under 30. She's still improving. She's got nasty BJJ. Her striking, although not good, is she's going for it. And the 2-year-long layoff, I do expect to see improvements out of her. So the bottom line is I think that Miller could either beat Ivana on volume or just catch her. And if Ivana just goes right back to the clinch and gets these takedowns, Miller's really good off her back. If Miller sweeps and gets on top, we're going to win. If Miller can latch up a submission off her back, we're going to win. If this fight stays standing, I think we're going to win. And it's a betting underdog. The last thing I will say is Ivana Petrovic had 3 fights in the UFC, right? Carolina fight, Luana Carolina, her debut, she lands 22 strikes over 15 minutes. Liang Na, she lands 36 into the third round, and then against Jamie Lee Horst, she lands 25 over the full 15 minutes. Yeah, Miller's doubling that up all day long. Or she finished Brogan Walker and put up 50, and then against Veronica Hardy, she's held down for the vast majority of it. She's taken down. She gets 3 submission attempts in that fight. She's credited with 3 submission attempts. She's not really worrying about ground and pound. She still lands 30. Luana Santos, she got knocked out in 3.5 minutes, and she still landed 24. 24 is what Ivana lands in 15 minutes.
Luana's a badass. Like, I mean, what Luana
do? She's 3-1. She didn't look good
the
against
Casey O'Neill fight. She looked pretty
She's
bad,
good
but
enough. Yeah,
she has like a good judo background, I believe, and really, really solid hips.
Well, she was just throwing. Look at how many she landed. 63 significant strikes landed in 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Yeah. She threw 105 total, landed 63. Yeah. That's something that Ivana cannot do. She cannot throw some giant combination. She can't throw a caution on the wind. She doesn't have big power. She doesn't have, all of these different things. So it's easy to look at somebody and say, well, they've been on for 2 years and they've lost their last 2 fights. And she's 3-3 overall. Like, I know I just gave Trejan Gore a tough time a couple weeks back for having a 5-3 record and being in the UFC. But like, Miller probably shouldn't be here, but she won the Ultimate Fighter legitimately. She's a high-level BJJ black belt. Apparently, she's been having these nagging injuries. So if she gets that all fixed up, that last fight is the kind of fight that it was like, girl, take 2 years off and work on your skills and then come back. And if that's what she did, she took those 2 years, she worked on her skills, she got healthy, and now she's coming back. She's going to win this fight at plus money. So Juliana, the Killer Miller. It might not be pretty, and on the microphone, it's pretty aggravating to listen to, but I got her. You go, girl. Get this victory. You deserve it.
Yeah, hopefully it goes to decision, and they're cutting. It's a little bit too. They're running out of time, Cody, and they have to get to the next fight, so we don't have to suffer through that, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, that's enough disrespect from me. That's UFC. That's UFC Des Moines. Lots of fights. More fights that we're breaking down this week. I mean, there's a preview up on the Patreon. Link is in the description. If you want the tricky PFL card this week. I think, like, if you want to hop on, next week is outrageous with the amount of regional stuff. Probably too much for us to even get to, but we try our damnedest every single week. So if you want more stuff from us, it's down there. Hop on over and enjoying the fun in the Discord and all of our content, our extra regional content over on the Patreon. But this show is going nowhere. New location and all of that type of stuff, but same old story Without further ado, Cody, hit him with the PRP.
Hit him with the PRP. Hopefully it's a good one. First time out the gate. Back on the Bookie Beatdown Network. Cory Sandhagen, Bo Nickal, Santiago Ponzinibbio, Daniel Marcos. But if there was one fight to pass on for me, that's it. Marcos is my dog number 1 so far. Cameron Smotherman's my dog number 2. Mason Jones, Misha Tate, Ryan Loder, dog number 3. Gillian Robertson, Gaston Bolanos, Thomas Peterson, Juliana Miller, dog number 4. 12 fights, 4 underdogs. There's some close to even money fights in the mix here and there. But yeah, like Paul said, I mean, we're a few years back, it's like UFC is the only thing on, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's this Bellator product and you can gamble on that as well. And then eventually though, there's a PFL and there's an LFA and then there's something else. Now there's just so much different stuff to look at that. Do you necessarily have to just squeeze all these 12 fights? No. But I like this card from a betting standpoint. I think a lot of it makes sense. I think that the leans are good. The reads are good. It's just, what do I know? They need to go out there and get the wins themselves, do all the things that we know that they're capable of doing, secure those dubs, and secure some checks for us. So that's about it, Paul. That's about it for UFC Fight Night Des Moines. Looking forward to it.
100%. That is it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. Usually I thank the producer here, but there ain't no producer.
Paul is the producer.
Thanks to me for switching, adding all of the statistical elements and stuff. I don't know. I feel like, tell us in the comment section if you like that. I think like having those stats up there is more valuable than a graph. Those graphics take me time every single week. And it's like,
I don't care for the graphic. Once you see it, you know.
I think the information of how many significant strikes and the odds and the line movement, I think that's way more important. As a bettor, as a hardcore bettor, I think that stuff's more important than having a fancy little graphic that pops up with a sponsored title. But I mean, if you want to sponsor the podcast, we can make graphics again. You're gonna have to pay us.
Paul keeps saying that, but on a personal level, I don't care. Like, I like this. We're sponsored by the people.
You better pay us a lot.
Want. Yeah, it would have to be. We've had good sponsorships. We've had really good sponsorships. Yeah. So if one came in that was better than those, and those were good. If one came in, then yeah, who am I to look the other way?
A gift horse in the mouth, is that what they say?
We're here to do picks. We're here to interact with people. We've moved over this community over to Discord, over to Patreon. We're doing some really fun stuff. And this is really just the beginning, right? Paul and I launched this thing in like January 10th. Mid-January. So we said it was like a beta version. Like it's just a soft launch and we're just going to add new pieces. And this is that. You might be thinking to yourself, oh man, there's no intro, and oh man, there's no graphics, and all. In time, all that stuff will come. But Paul is switching this thing as we go. We're doing multiple shows. The main thing is the core information. The show location may change. The show title may change. But what won't change is that core information that we've been delivering over the last 10 years. I'll leave you with this, though. Huge missed opportunity for Paul that when he said, I'd like to thank, he should have said, and I'd like to thank absolutely nobody because I switched this entire show myself, upload it, tag it, do all that, and gave some excellent analysis and advice as well. So shout out to my boy, Paul Shaughnessy. Shout out to you guys, the listeners, for coming over, switching over, and checking us out at our new little home. And upwards and onwards. That's it.
100%. I would never say absolutely nobody because I would still thank you. We're Canadian. We thank people. That's what we do. But I would definitely still thank Cody. But there's I think the show went off pretty well. We've been doing a whole bunch of these shows. So I'm just trying to because it's the show that goes out to YouTube, that goes out to everybody, show that we're doing some good stuff over here. And next week, I mean, if you want to get in, next week is going to be mental with the amount of, there's obviously a UFC pay-per-view, but there's just
Samurai MMA, baby, time to shine.
Canadian regional MMA. There's an LFA card. There's literally everything. There's 2 PFL. There's PFL Europe and PFL
the Mania card.
Mania.
You were asking for it.
They don't look that bad. They have some fighters with good records. I plan to look into them. But
but it's like a Brave card or a UAE Warriors card. It's tough to get a handle on. But yeah, because of the sheer amount of, even this week's a great example. It's there's a BKFC card and there's what's the list, because we got to break through it. There's a one championship card and there's a karate combat card and there's
this week's rough.
You can pick and choose and say karate combat, are you nuts? But there's some good MMA on as well. Okay, well then pass on the karate combat. BKFC, no way, I'd never bet that again. Then pass on that, bet some other stuff. but there's a market for PKFC. There's a market for karate combat. And our jobs are just to find those little gems on these little cards hidden here and there. But let's jump out of this one. We've already done PFL yesterday, UFC now. We got some other stuff to do tomorrow. So we're just going to wave and say goodbye, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
We're 100% out of time. Thanks for checking out the show. We will see you again next week for UFC 315. Peace.
Oh!